Hey y'all, welcome to Rad Gamer Dad Podcast, episode 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you got the name.
2 for 2. You know what? I hope to keep this up here, remembering the episode numbers. It'll be good. It'll
I'm
be
never
good.
going to write them down for you and just let you guess. And at some point, it'll be...
At some
No,
point,
and
it'll-
then
digits,
people
triple digits.
call. No, I want you to do that, and I'm gonna hold you to that, and then I want people to call me out in the comments if I get it wrong.
It'll be
Yeah, I would
podcast
love
number
Because it's gonna
523.
hard be like I'm not gonna be like I guess I just don't remember it. I'm gonna throw out a number and see
Yep.
if y'all are paying
Yep.
attention.
Everyone keep
Okay?
him
You
accountable.
also have to try to promise to be accurate.
I
That's
promise.
Like, you can't
Yeah.
just be like, it's episode 1 million, you know? Like,
Well, that's stupid.
Like-
Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay,
So
cool. We're
after
on the
this
same page.
podcast,
Yeah,
we no
okay.
longer help you. We won't cue you into like what number we're on. Like,
It's fine.
Yeah.
okay.
It's fine.
All right.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. So today we definitely want to get into a little bit more about the Bloomberg article that came up that was talking about PlayStation having a Xbox Game Pass like equivalent. What do we think? What would we like to see in it, being as we are primarily PlayStation users here, our players. We branch out here and there, but what we want to see with that service, what it could be, and Game Pass, talking about that too, because that is super important. That's kind of changed the landscape, I believe, as far as, because you're not looking at just getting hardcore gamers. You're looking to get everybody, okay? You want to get everybody. Game Pass or something like that it's right on there.
Yeah, which right now Sony has their PlayStation Now program, which I personally have used in the past. But when I have used it in the past, it was like a bunch of PS3 games, not really a whole lot of PS4 at the time, because I don't know how long it's been out. I don't remember, but I remember when I subscribed to it, it was like games on PS4 that had been out a couple years before already. It was never really anything more current that was out. And it was a lot of PS3 and a couple indie things here and there. So it was never anything to warrant me to keep giving it money. So
Well, before you could just only stream them, right? Like
Right.
you
Yeah,
could.
yes.
Yep.
Now they've given you the option. I don't know if it's all the games, but
yeah,
I
some of them you can download now.
see. That's stupid. Like download all of them. Come on.
Right.
Like
With you.
yeah. I mean, and streaming isn't very accessible to everybody. I mean, where
Not
you've
for
got.
me. My internet's
I mean,
terrible.
not for people who have a data cap, it's not accessible.
No.
We have a data cap.
Me
I mean,
too.
we can't stream everything. I mean, so things like Alexa, Amazon Luna,
Stadia.
yeah, they're definitely not taking off. I mean, you can definitely come at me in the comments if you think that they are, because I just don't think that their business model is all wrong. Like I said, not everyone has gig, internet or whatever. I don't think until the internet infrastructure is more stable, that you would see. I mean, it's a cool idea, and Microsoft's doing it too with xCloud,
Yeah.
and they're having some relative success with that, because they have bundled it with Game Pass.
So,
Yeah.
does Andy, you have Game Pass. Does anybody else here?
I also have
Subscribe?
Game Pass. I have the Ultimate one, and I mainly now just kind of use it on my computer and also the mobile app that you get, which because that's like the Ultimate plan. It's the like most successful, or it's like the most things that you can get from it.
So, and can you guys detail like what are the tiers of that, right? Because I think for most people, they probably understand that there's a difference between like a physical and digital copies of games, and now what Game Pass has done to change the style of purchase, in a nutshell, kind of equivalent to
Mhm.
what Netflix did to DVDs, right? It's like, hey, now we have a catalog service that's available, but how does that service work?
How long do you want this podcast to be?
Can you describe that in under 30 seconds?
Oh no, I can't. No, so
Then that's too confusing and that's bad marketing.
they have.
2
Well,
minutes or
it
less,
is.
man.
There's
2
a lot
minutes
of
or less.
things about Xbox in the past have been bad marketing, but ever since I'm gonna simp for Phil Spencer as well. He's really turned it around.
He's a dime.
Really turned it around. So Game Pass essentially has 3 tiers, but what it was before Game Pass, it was Xbox Games with Gold that got you free games monthly, and it got
That
you
was like
discount.
PS Plus.
Essentially,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
essentially PS Plus. So Xbox Games with Gold, and then they have Xbox Live, which is separate, but you also that allows you to play games online with your friends.
Is there a PlayStation equivalent for Xbox Live?
PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so
PlayStation
it,
Plus.
it
Yeah,
wraps
yeah,
Is the
those
same,
two
okay.
things together.
Yeah, and they're like, and I think like one is cheaper than the other for sure. Like I don't exactly know that pricing structure, but then there's actually they came out with Game Pass. Okay. Game Pass has three tiers. You've got your console Game Pass, which is just good for console games.
What's
Like
that cost?
that's $10, $10 a month.
Okay.
Then you've got Game Pass for PC, which is also $10 a month. And they will actually have different games on there. So it's not like all the same games. They try and put all their first party games on there, I believe, first, but then anything after that is kind of like whatever contracts that they can kind of write up. And they also have EA Play on there as well. So like if you're into EA games or whatever, get exclusive deals on that. That's bundled in there. And then the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is $15. Okay,
That's a deal.
15 bucks a month. Um, it's 15 bucks a month. Yeah, it's 15.
Yeah.
I actually just recently subscribed to it because Back for Blood, I have that on Game Pass, but I can't play it online without Xbox Live. So I'm like,
So,
well,
yeah.
just give me a month of Game Pass because they give you a month for $1. $1. If the first time you try it out, $1, and you get everything.
So Game Pass Ultimate and Xbox Live are still separate services.
No, no, they are separate services technically, but Game Pass Ultimate, like it is what it says. It gives you literally everything. Um, the console Game Pass, the PC Game Pass,
Mobile.
lets you
Mobile.
mobile. And is that part of the X Cloud?
So it's you basically stream the games to your phone.
That's X Cloud.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think what Josh is referring to as far as the difference between them, because if you have just Xbox Live, you can still you have to physically own the games.
Yes.
Whereas with
yeah.
the Game Pass addition to it is what gives you
The games,
the,
yeah,
the
the
other
catalog.
stuff. Is essentially what I think what Josh was
Yeah.
asking. Is there kind of like PS Now and PS Plus are two separate services?
Right.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
got you. Now I know where you're coming from. Yeah. No, you're right. And it's got EA Play in there. You can play all the games online.
All
Like
the
I
FIFAs that are the same.
uh,
Not that I can talk because I've never. I just
Um,
All the FIFAs.
meme culture.
but the console one, like you can't like you've got the games, but you can play free to play games online like Fortnite or Apex Legends or
Sure.
whatever. But all the games that aren't free to play, you still need technically Xbox Live. That's where Game Pass Ultimate comes in. So
Okay.
they've had to do a lot of rebranding, and I think they're slowly making their way. I've heard talks about they were actually going to be nixing either games with gold or live and just rolling it all in and be like, this is Game Pass Ultimate. This is what this is now, and not trying to, because that is confusing. So essentially,
For sure.
it's got these three tiers here.
Well,
Um,
the thing that I like that they did there is there are 3 tiers, so you can play the way that you want, and each of them relatively affordable.
Mhm.
There's a clear winner, right? Like they're
Yeah.
definitely trying to drive you past Game Pass or towards Game Pass Ultimate, and because the amount that they put into that's pretty ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
that's really helpful because I want to make sure that when we're looking at Game Pass and saying like, can Sony come up with something that can rival it in Project or codename Spartacus? What are we actually talking about?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I
think-
know what Game Pass is ish, but not
Yeah.
quite how it
Yeah.
works.
I think one thing that it's not even like how it works thing that they need to do, but one thing that Sony I think really should do, which is I think part of the reason why Xbox or Game Pass is like so successful, is they put in a lot of like smaller like little indie games that are like they're fun, but it's not enough where like I don't think a lot of people go out of their way to just purchase them. So once you get that, you get all of those little games, and it also helps like the smaller creators.
Yes,
And
it's
I think
huge.
I think it's just a great like system to have because I know not many people would get those games, but they're still like really good games that are just kind of like less popular.
Right.
That's cool.
And,
Yeah,
and the
that's
reason
really
why
cool.
I picked well, I started off with I just got 6 months of the console Game Pass because I normally when I play stuff online, it's normally with these guys and it's mostly on PlayStation or whatever. So um, I don't really need the online portion of it. Well, then Back for Blood, then I just got it or whatever. But and I might just end up getting that too. But once again, time and everything like that.
Yeah.
So it's cheaper. Um, it allows me to play all the games because that's what I'm really hopeful for the future of Xbox and their first party games, and they're putting all of them out there day one. Day one, you get them right when it comes out. Game Pass, and you don't have to pay a cent from than what you're already paying,
That's huge.
which is awesome.
Well, and Josh just said a very key word that I think is important is rival. Obviously, everyone knows the console wars, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, blah, blah, blah. All three of them seemingly have some type of service online to cater to gamers paying. Nintendo has the thing where the NES, the SNES, the new N64 expansion, they did all those things too. So using the word rival in that term, like, why is it important that Sony needs to do something like this to compete with Microsoft? Like, obviously, I'm not a big fan of Microsoft over the last few years with the Xbox One. I was a diehard Xbox guy until Xbox One, and that's when I jumped ship over to PS4 with you guys. But like, but what they're doing and what they have been doing, I know we've argued about this, in the past.
We have.
But more or less just out of, just because it's easy to get your goat, it's easy to get you going. But
Not today. Not today.
I agree that what Microsoft is doing is important, and why do we need Sony to do the same thing?
We don't need it. They need to do it
Yeah,
because
yes, yeah,
they
that's what I
they
mean.
want to catch not just the hardcore gamers again, but they want to catch everyone. When my nephew, he's 9, when he God, I hope I got that right. He's 9 when
You're not
he
good with numbers.
Well,
when,
edit
when
that
he
later.
Or reading.
my
or
my
pronunciation.
my
Or words.
Reese's.
Right?
What are you good at?
many things. He's just not here. Anyways, when technically my sister won it, but she just gave it to him, and he was super stoked. So came from their PS3 died. Okay, so they went to that, and they had the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for 12 months, and my my brother-in-law was looking at it, he's like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna be a gamer again. I think I'm gonna be a gamer again. This gets people back in. This gets people back in because he's playing. My nephew's playing it, and he's like, I found this cool game on here. Never heard of it. It's super fun to play. And my sister's like, yeah, he's been super annoying, and he hasn't been. And he's been just sitting down there playing a game, being a waste of space. And I was like, that is so cool. This is getting everybody. You're getting everyone in here with all these types of games that you have in there, the growing Xbox One studios, and that's why this is where you're getting people. You're going to get people this way.
Those
and they
casual
have
gamers.
gotten people this way. And that's why PlayStation wouldn't do nothing if they didn't know like this, if they didn't know, hey, this is looking pretty good for them. We need to do something similar. So that's why and don't do it like Nintendo. That is fucking garbage.
That's
That is so stupid. I'll pay for my son the $20 a month or whatever, so he can play
Right.
Minecraft online or something like that, or get the Animal Crossing expansion or
additional money per
Yeah.
month for a couple Nintendo 64 games.
a
No,
couple. And
I
they
know.
featured one of them pretty heavily in Win Back. Never played Win Back, so once again, shout at me in the comments, but what the hell? You couldn't get anything better
What's
than
Win
to
Back?
I
highlight
think
than
it's I
Win
don't
Back.
think Nintendo's is monthly though. I think it's
It
for a
is.
year.
It's
Because I paid $20 a year
Yeah.
for the base, and I think
Yeah.
you pay an additional
$15 or
$15
something
or
for
whatever it is for
access
the
to those.
access, but I don't think it's a monthly. I think
Yeah,
it's for
you're
the
right.
year.
it's per year.
So essentially, it's $50 a year. So still, I know some people
For
argue it's
win
not,
back.
But
hey,
No,
Paper
but-
Mario is on there though.
that's true. But if that's
when
the
you're
only
when
thing,
you're
that's not
also
enough.
looking at like, okay, PlayStation Plus, $60 a year. They give you a bunch of free
Oh, for sure,
free
for
games
sure.
monthly or whatever. And granted,
Nintendo's
why not?
stingy with him with that pocketbook.
Yeah, while some of them might not be the best,
That's why you're still
you know.
paying $60 for Breath of the Wild, and it came out 3 years ago.
I know, right?
Well, that's Nintendo IPs though. They don't really go down in value.
They don't have
and,
to.
And
Yeah.
that would be my argument for like I think Sony wants this, but I think PlayStation wants it because it does cater well to gamers and now what gamers' expectations are becoming with their Steam library, with the Xbox GamePass and being able to take their games from their console to PC. But I think their IPs are what sell their systems. And I
Mhm.
think
Oh, for
they can
sure.
stand on their own without this. I think this is in addition to,
Yeah.
because whether they have this or not, I'm playing PlayStation because God of War, because Horizon Zero Dawn, because,
Mhm.
they keep producing outstanding games that to me are worth $60 or $70 regardless of whether
Right.
they end up on a tiered service or not.
Mhm.
I would pay for, and I'm gonna leap forward in like my expectation for this. Like, I would leap forward for a combination of PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, kind of included in that, and what they did with the PlayStation Collection when I came
Mhm.
over to PS5.
That was a slice of cool.
Yeah, if they can kind of mash that stuff up, like, and call it PlayStation Platinum. Right? Like, just have a
Ooh.
PlayStation Gold and PlayStation Platinum.
Look
Yeah.
at that. Yeah.
Platinum
Right?
sounds good.
Or you could have
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus, and that would be like your base tier, right? They did say that they
I
want
want
3
Platinum.
tiers.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so like I would stick around just for that because PlayStation Plus has kicked ass.
Yeah.
Overall, it's
Mhm.
very good. Just like Xbox games with gold kicked ass. It was already really good. This is just an icing on the cake that moves it forward. But I don't think they're up against the wall like you have to do this.
No, oh no, of course not.
And
Oh.
this will be out on the limb. I don't know that I expect them to release all of their major studio exclusives day and date,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right?
I'd
I could
agree
see
with that.
them including them when they're like, hey, once this becomes a PlayStation hit, it now joins this collection,
Mhm.
2-3 years down the road or whatever. But I would like to see their exclusive be some of the like smaller PlayStation exclusives or their like more indie titles. Like, it would have been awesome to get so many people to play, and I don't know, Kana, or if all of a sudden it was like, hey, guess what? You got this service, you're gonna get Little Devils inside.
Mhm.
It's like, ooh, those
Mhm.
are games that I would love to have, and I would probably dive in if I didn't have to pay $30-$40.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
just
agree.
like you said, that the Kana game, I don't know much about it. It looks really cool, but I'm not going to spend money on it because I know I probably won't play it. But given the option to be able to play it for a fee, then sure, and that's what I think is the best part of the Game Pass, because there's been so many games this year that I've seen come out, like Outriders by Square Enix. I was super excited to play that, and then it came out, and I just heard it was terrible. And if I would have dropped $60 on it, I would have been,
They've done better on
You
it
know,
apparently. I
yeah.
mean,
You
they
know.
got a big expansion coming up too.
yeah. But I mean,
anyways.
just case
I-
in point, it's like you get those games by, it's like, yeah, Square Enix may have released it, but like, I don't know who made it. You know what I mean? Like, just
And-
because their name is on it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be what you expect.
And Back for
you
Blood's a
know.
perfect example, right? I asked you guys a
Mhm.
million questions, and I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not price sensitive enough to not dive into this game, but I just want to make sure that like I'm actually going to get some play out of it, because it's not typically my style of game. And
Mhm.
Rang was just like, yeah, sure, whatever, Game
Yeah.
Pass. I don't, and it
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't have had any follow-up questions if that was just included in my
Yeah.
PlayStation service.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Don't worry, I'll play with you.
Where were you last night?
What
Well, I
what
didn't know you
think-
guys were playing last night.
We're throwing out the
Sorry.
feelers out there.
Yeah.
Gotta pay attention to our chats.
Okay, well, in
Yeah,
my
you were
defense,
absent from the chat. I was like, wait a minute, young Ethan's not
okay,
in
in
on
my
this.
defense, I worked and
He is a
then
high school boy.
I
He's
w-
got
I
schoolwork.
worked and then I was tired and then I took a shower and then I slept.
We'll shame you later. But
Boy, you're transitioning into adulthood
I know.
pretty
quick
good.
there,
yeah,
yeah.
because that's what it's
Yeah.
about.
when Ellen, that's I think circling back of like I know I said my piece, but like Luke, what is PlayStation? What would you like to see them do, or do you think they need? Like, is this a need move for them?
I don't think it's a need move because they're already so solid. I think it would be, I don't want to say like fan service, but I think it would be good to include this type of service in their overall package. And I don't have a lot of experience with Game Pass, but when we were doing the 24-hour stream and you just kind of had me go through your games, like the library on there on the Game Pass, I was really impressed with it. Like just a couple minutes of looking at the library convinced me that I could be willing to buy like a Xbox Series S just for Game Pass. And I think
A lot.
what would be a big draw, probably not just for myself, but like those big notable IPs, I'm gonna get those regardless of the price, regardless of the system. Like I'm buying them. Like you can't convince me otherwise. But when it comes to a lot of those indie games, or like you're talking about Outriders, where like I don't know if I'd want to take the chance on this game, but if it was included in that like a library that they have, I think that would be enough to convince me to buy a service like that and then continually use it then. Especially with indies, I feel like there are so many out there, but they're typically pretty pricey. It's like $30-$40 for a game that I have never heard of this company. I don't know much about it beyond a 1.5 minute video, and I'm just not going to take the chance on that.
Well, I mean, a good one to say that for too would be just based off conversations throughout this year, and I think it came out this year, was Mortal Shell. Was that out
Yep.
last year? Like, I know you and Jasmine, you guys were going on and on about how you were excited for it because it was very Souls-like,
Right.
and then like you guys ended up playing it, and you guys were both like, yeah, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and granted, yeah, it was only I think like what $30-$40 when
40
it came
bucks,
out,
yep.
but being it was an indie, but like you said, that's still a lot of money for something
A game you don't like,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean indies are they pop up all the time. How many single person indies are putting out there, and sometimes charging $5-$10 for them, and sometimes they're good, and sometimes they're like, it's whatever, man. Good for
Luke-
doing you. But like it's like, but if you can
Yeah.
get a chunk of change from Sony to be like, we'll put this on our thing and
Mhm.
give you X amount, it gives them encouragement to make something new, make something better as well.
Well, Luke, I think you said something important was the fan service piece,
Mhm.
right? And I felt like that was one of the dooms for Xbox 360, right? Was being like, man, they had the place to play online and the place to play with your friends, and then they got a little big for their britches, right? At least, and I felt like they came out kind of arrogant with their next release, and Sony came back and they did all the fan service things. We got a
Mhm.
bunch of indie
Mhm.
things, and that joke of like, how do you let one of your friends play your games and like just hand it to
Yeah.
somebody else? And it was like
That was good.
that I think would be excuse me, a hit against them
Mhm.
if they choose not to do this of like, hey, look, Xbox is doing all these really cool fan service things. Like, don't forget, right? Like, I know your IPs will sell. Watching Phil Spencer again, the man's a dime. He's been doing great at Xbox. I love some of the moves that he's making. But watching Halo Infinite drop on Game Pass Ultimate, I was like, whoa,
I still haven't
that's
even
rad.
played that.
I don't expect that.
I know
That's a
eventually I need
big
to borrow
flex.
your Xbox.
Yeah, but
I have an old Xbox 360.
but that
I
was a
think.
baller move. It was like, that's really, really cool. But there's always a list of games per year. Lost in Random was one for me that was like, not going to spend money on it. Been wanting to play Oxenfree forever, right? Like,
Right.
there's always this list of games that'd be like, I'd love to, but I know I'm not going to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Game Pass solves so much of that.
See,
Yes.
what I'm afraid about with Game Pass though, and I'm only afraid about because I feel like they're playing it right now because they're still like they're in a fairly good spot right now, but I feel like they're still they're playing catch up. So like, hey, our day one, our games from our studios are coming out day one, okay? if they took that away, I don't know if I would be as interested in that because I'm interested in the future of their IP. That's kind of why I got that, and to try out some of the other stuff that they kind of put on there.
But it's only $15 a month.
Yeah.
I agree with Andy though on that
Yeah?
though. If they didn't have current content and like stuff that was, I wouldn't expect it to be dropped day one. But if within a couple months, like I think that's what would really keep me using it because I want to play current games at that reduced risk of not having to buy the game.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you say only $15 a month, but how much are we like? Okay, $15 a month on Final Fantasy 14. You got PlayStation's thing. Well,
Always
what's that
shoehorning
gonna?
it in. Always shoehorning
There it
it
is.
It's worth it.
Use my
It's
dollar.
But you
not. I
can't
don't
buy
have
it
to-
now.
Use the dollar per hour ratio. So I developed this a long time ago when money was important. Where like I was like, okay, if I'm gonna spend $60 on a game, I want to try to get if I could get 60 hours out of the game and get like $1 per hour, that's a worthwhile purchase. So like I try to get as close to that. So $20 game, I spend 40 hours on it. That's 50 cents per hour. Yes, that's a deal to
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good way to
15
look
bucks
at
on
it.
Game Pass. If you spend Final Fantasy 14, how many hours do you put into that in a month?
I just don't know. I don't know.
Countless, right?
Thousands.
We don't need a number.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need a
But
number.
numbers are confusing. But yeah, that $15 a month is more than worth that.
Well, and
No.
that's what I was gonna say too. Is like, I think the $15 a month gaming structure
Mhm.
is really, really great because it is price sensitive to people, right? If you have a family and say there's 2 or 3 kids all with different gaming interests, like, to spend $15 a month and let them all kind of play and have like this huge library of stuff that they can go like, I know my mom would have come up if we would have been like, Mom, I want to play games. She'd be like, you have tons of games,
Mhm.
right? The games just jumped for like a hard copy from $60 to $70. Like
Mhm.
that's a that
Not
can
for-
be a
Not
a
for all
chunk.
of them though.
Not for
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
them, but
But
we're
enough
in
of
that
them, yeah.
$60 to $70, and for a ton of people, $60 to $70 is a lot. Even
Mhm.
if they're only doing it, I mean, what's it, $180 a year total for Game Pass Ultimate?
Mhm.
What's that? 3
Yeah.
games,
Right.
Well, and being that
right? Like that's
both of us
that's
have
very
worked-
price kind.
I mean, both of us
Mhm.
have worked at
thing.
GameStop,
Yeah.
when we, and me being a parent, I know the one thing that like it may sound terrible to say it, but it's like my one thing is like I don't want to buy those kid games that aren't really anything other than the product they're selling, like Paw Patrol Racing. It's like you're just getting a subpar game with the Paw Patrol name slapped on it.
For sure.
So having something like that is great for those people, like you said, because A, those games still cost money, and B, it's like, if your kid plays it for 10 minutes and they're like, I don't like this, then you're not out anything,
Yeah.
Because I mean, that was always my thing is like, I've bought very few games in my kids' lives. Romy and Callie, not so much. They're more into like The Sims and stuff like that. But like Lincoln, he jumps from day to day. Paw Patrol one day, then it's Marvel, and then it's Batman. It's like he's all over the place, like most kids are. And it's like you can't just buy a game from all those genres and just be like, well, I hope he likes one of them.
Right.
But
you
you
know?
buy Link all of those games because you love him best, right?
Yeah.
You love to
No.
play those.
Yes,
Because-
that's
no,
true.
But I buy the games that I know I like to play too, so it works out. So I can teach him, like we love the Lego games, because of the properties that they represent and things, and they're fun and they're a little problem solving for younger kids and for Andy. And
Easy mode.
but yeah,
And he
like
gets
but,
stuck on
but
easy
being
mode.
that both of us have worked in a video game store, you've had parents come in, and you can sometimes tell like they're reluctant to be like, I guess I'm spending $50 on this game today because my kid really wants it.
Yep.
You know?
Well, and we have all, I believe, around this table been the person that you're just like, dude, I'm gonna trade in like all of these other games. I'm gonna get next to nothing, but I'm working a small job part time, and I've got $35, and that game costs 60. So if I can get it down to 15,
Yep.
sweet.
Yeah.
And
That's
you
what-
hawk all these games that you might have played later
Yep.
for on one game. It's like,
Yep.
yeah.
Well,
there's a lot.
especially games that like, oh my God, my wife used to get on me so bad about this. 'Cause I used to be I would trade in systems, games, like if I just wasn't playing them, or or whatever. I'm like, I get the new thing. Yeah, it'll be fine, you know. And and she's like, why do you do that? I'm like, well, you got to get the best money for when it's when you can, you know, when it's still relevant, so I can go and get this game. She's like, just wasting fucking money. I'm like,
But like, if you would have saved a lot of those older consoles, imagine like if you would have kept them in good condition, you probably could have sold them for way more
Oh, for
now.
sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I was
if you
way
kept
broker.
them in,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I was
exactly.
young and
Down
stupid.
home
I wanted to
to
play
tell you,
games.
man. Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have any money.
Yeah, if you had more, didn't have, yeah, man. Yeah, I agree. One thing I think that PlayStation needs to do, though, and this is a need if they have this service, they don't have to do the day one games, okay? Because people will buy those because they're premium. They're really, really good. What they need to do is get a really snatch up as many of their old catalog as they can. I'm talking back all the way to PS1, and they need to slap a shitload of stuff on there. They need to get so much of it on there that they can be like, put on there.
See, this is
I
where-
don't
think it's
want the
needed
older
This is where
ones.
my
anymore.
argument's
I
gonna
don't
come
care
in
about
that
the
I
older
spoke
ones.
earlier.
One
I-
at a time, kids.
No, I think they need to do that because I don't want to fucking pay for Final Fantasy VIII. I don't want to ever pay for Final
okay,
Fantasy
who
VIII.
wants to play Final
Yeah,
Fantasy VIII?
Final
Let's
Fantasy
ask the
IX.
real
I don't want to pay
questions.
for Final
I'm
Fantasy
sorry
IX
to those who want to,
again,
but-
you know,
Then
and
it's
like,
not your favorite.
and even to have it available, their backwards compatibility stuff is like it's not there.
Yeah.
It's not there. So even if you giving it to me at like a reduced cost or whatever, just have it there.
Well,
I want that there.
and we'll let everybody chime in on like their back catalog ideas,
About
but
to
that
shit
is
all
what
over
they're
Andy here.
what Bloomberg has reported as, you know, kind of their 3-tier system, like the Game Pass, is that tier 1 is similar to the existing benefits that we have with PlayStation Plus,
Mhm.
which overall I think PlayStation users super satisfied with. 2 would be a large catalog of PS4 and eventually PS5 games. The 3rd tier, their kind of premium status, adds extended demos, a game streaming library of classic PS1, PS2, and PS3 and PSP games.
God damn it, I don't want to stream it. I want to download it. I got a data cap, man.
Oh,
My
they-
wife yells at me if I go over that data cap.
They also
I
said
need to
that
keep the
they've been-
peace.
They've also said that they've been pumping some resources into an xCloud like
Okay.
service too, right? So kind of
More fucking
more streaming. So
This is
where
not gonna be
do
good for me.
people Ethan, where do you gave a
I don't.
what
I
is
don't
the back catalog
I
thing?
care zero a percentage of anything about older games. They don't run as good, and I get it that it's just because like they're not for my time or whatever.
No,
But
but Game
I
Pass, they
am-
make them run better though.
I don't care. I don't want to play old games. They don't look as good.
Long distance high five.
Woo!
All right. Alright.
Rob, is that your same?
So in a nutshell, yeah, like with the PS5 when it came out, everyone was up in arms about it better be backwards compatible, better be backwards compatible. But it's like, well, how far back do you want to go? Like PS4, I understand because it's still a very relevant
Right.
system.
All
Yeah.
the
You know,
way.
But like,
No.
it doesn't need to have backward compatibility with PS3, PS2, PS1. Like it doesn't need that. And again, I'm only speaking for myself here, but if I wanted to play those games, I would probably just emulate them because most of that
Yep.
stuff you can emulate now anyway. But like, kind of like Ethan said, some of that stuff's hard to look at. Like, when you look at the original Final Fantasy VII, it's hard to look at. It's ugly, and it's
It's not even how it looks; it's how long it takes to go, like complete a battle. Holy
Yeah.
crap! Like
So it's like in not that I don't think they should put some of their bigger titles like the Final Fantasies or things like that are bigger titles, but then kind of like what Nintendo has on theirs, like if you look at their NES and their SNES library, it's all a bunch of random junk that like nobody really knows. There's random like Japanese titles on there that never came stateside that you can't read anyway. Like it's just really goofy. Like they do obviously have Mario, they have Zelda, they have their big names on there, but there's also a lot of stuff that isn't on there that I feel would be more drawing to people. So like if you just flood the system with a bunch of just random shovelware, essentially, it's not going to do any good. I mean, I'm all for a little, the backward compatibility and the older stuff, as long as it's stuff that people want to play. But like you said, win back. what the heck is it? Like, nobody wants that.
Back to the
Like,
win.
I can think of games that I bought on PS2 when I first got mine that, like, they were garbage then. So, like, but those are the ones that, like, man, we'll just shove those on there because it
Yeah.
doesn't cost much to put them up on
Yeah,
there.
and I believe they actually there was a study or they had some data that like not a lot of the people say like, oh, you say you want backwards compatibility, but like the people actually playing the percentage of backwards compatible games, it's you know what I want the PlayStation subscription service to be? I want it to be like Game Pass is right now. I want it to be
Yeah.
right now. That I want it. I want it to be priced comparably because I'm not paying that much for both things because it's not just about the money; it's also about time. There's
For
you have
sure.
finite amount of time to play all these games. And even right now, having a Series S and a PS5, I'm like a Series S with Game Pass. I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have time for this, but like I do want to experience some of this stuff. And like I'm not out to beat it, unless I'm having like a really fun time with it. But I definitely want to dabble in and say like, hey, I've tried this, or like Back for Blood or whatever. But like,
Code Vein.
yeah, what's that?
Code Vein is a very fun
Code
game.
Vein is on there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
It's very fun.
kind of a
Like, honestly, like, to kind of summarize mine, it's like nostalgia is great, but it's also painful. Like,
Nostalgia's a mofo, man.
Yeah.
It's
For
you,
real.
you look at things with nostalgia glasses, and then you go back and you try it. Like, there are games that still you can play from the PS1 era that are still playable now, and that they're still fun to play. But there's also a lot out there that are like, wow. Like, try going back and playing like Twisted Metal and Twisted Metal 2. It's probably
So
near
hard.
It'd be
impossible.
painful.
even
Yeah.
Twisted Metal Black, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Heck
like
yeah.
Exactly. And it's like those games are great, and it's great to introduce them, like, to my kids, finding things that they're interested in. But at the end of the day,
well, there's
it
a
comes
lot
down
of
to time too. It's like I don't have time to go back and play a lot of that old stuff.
there's a lot of games that are actually better than they are right now. Like whoever's making wrestling games is absolute fucking garbage. But the wrestling games they had like on the PS2, PS3 era or whatever, I'm like those are
Going
gold.
SmackDown, baby.
Yeah, SmackDown. And when you say emulators, like even though like you could anything could run that, it takes a lot of resources to emulate like let's say a PS3 game. There are
Yeah.
PS3 emulators out there, but unless you have a super high-end rig, you're not going to get it to emulate very well.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm definitely not. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah, don't pirate
those
your games.
Those are an op. They're if I was gonna do something like that, that's how I would do it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to pay to have to do it.
Well, Luke, what do you think? Do you go back?
I agree. Yeah, against having all of that backwards compatibility with PS3 and older. It's just aged. We're just where we're at. And there's so much accessibility to games that you could find what you'd want to play in this age. That would satisfy that nostalgic itch from games back then.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah,
and, and there's stuff that's being remade, that we can play, that was from our childhood. So we're kind of getting to revisit that, but in a far better way now that's
Yeah.
been up to date and is actually playable.
Yeah. Looking at you,
compared to-
Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
The
right, and
GTA.
that's-
Did
yeah.
you see the GTA remake and how terrible
Oh,
that
yeah,
was?
didn't go
I'm
great.
so
Yeah,
glad.
That was more
Yeah.
report than
No,
anything.
Don't
no.
go
Yeah.
down that rabbit hole.
That was
No, but it's I
That was
guess
rough.
a big thing that I want to mention is to keep me in your ecosystem because you've got Xbox. It's very very sad, but Nintendo doesn't do it for me anymore so much these days. Which
same.
big fan of Legend of Zelda, big fan of Mario, big fan of Pokemon, big fan of a lot of stuff that they do, but it just doesn't catch me like anything from Xbox or Sony's doing. So like when you're vying for my time and trying to give me which ecosystem, I'm not going to spend bless you.
This is
I'm not going to spend premium for the premium service for both systems.
At least that wasn't into the microphone.
That would have been gross. So
Sure.
I've made up my mind and I said, hey, if Xbox were to ever get Final Fantasy 14, I would be over to Xbox. That's my main game. Okay, I'm not gonna.
Keep a camera on Josh and every time
His
he mentions
expression.
it,
I-
The look of
I-
disappointment.
I
is just-
would be over.
I'm disappointed because you do it cleverly, and I like never see it coming. You're like the one thing, and I'm like, he's gonna have a point, and then it's like
Final Fantasy
and
14.
Circle back, and I'm like, son of a bitch. It's not that I'm mad at you. I'm mad at me for not,
Not
catching
catching.
it.
No, but I would seriously be over on Xbox and that ecosystem, because not only do I think that they're going to be doing really great things with their first party studios, they have done great things, and the type of games that they get into Game Pass are all really good, and a lot of the games that I do play and enjoy are out on both of them. The As far as first party exclusives go from Sony, I think the biggest one that really just like it would really bother me if I couldn't play that is the new God of War. You know,
Yeah.
that is that, and they are slowly, very slowly trickling out their first party games onto PC. But I mean, so
Very
that's
slowly.
very slow. But
And
but that's the
painful
thing.
ports
They
too,
want to
Yeah.
make sure that
unfortunately.
they sell their systems,
Mhm.
to get that. So if 14, yes, if it ever did come to Xbox, if PlayStation service isn't pretty much comparable, almost like the exact same thing to what Xbox is offering, and 14 came to Xbox, I'd probably go over to Xbox. And it's not just like my main system and my side piece. Okay.
Yeah.
Right now Xbox is my side piece. Okay. It's kind of what I'm enjoying a little bit here and there.
My PC is my
it's
side
kind of
piece.
exciting
But
sometimes.
you're not making any commitments with it.
No, I'm not putting a ring on that. I put a ring on PlayStation, okay? But the thing is about rings,
They can come off.
they can come off.
He doesn't mean that one in
Ring.
particular, Christy.
Right.
That one's forever.
No, that one is forever, because, like I said, if I always told the running joke, I'm like, if we got divorced, you take everything from me, everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna do my best to.
Is that the
get
only
along.
reason why? Is that the only reason why?
I
Do
mean,
you think you'll survive the divorce?
no, I
Think
probably,
it'd be-
I probably would. I'd be an emotional wreck. And anyways,
To save Andy's marriage, the back catalog for me is I think you're right. The numbers they suffice out. Like people don't play them nearly as much as they want to. But there is a problem for Sony that Xbox not having is that they're not doing any like game preservation. And so I think there's some preservationists
that's big.
that
Yep.
it's like, yeah, hey, that's a solid fan service, but make sure that for me with this, like that's in a tier that I don't necessarily feel compelled to pay for
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't really want to go back and play those games. I have limited time and I'm usually playing something forward.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I'm very much, that's why like the concept of the backlog doesn't exist for me either. It's like I'm constantly moving forward with my games.
Yeah.
If something gets dropped along the way, and then hopefully it gets dropped for something that's better.
yeah.
There's a reason why you didn't go back. so,
Exactly.
yeah.
And it's not to say the games aren't great, like Persona 5 Royal. It's a great game. It's just it's too much, and I don't have the time to put into it. So I just kind of dropped it and moved on. It's one game that Andy actually finished.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, I guess I would retract my statement slightly about the entire backlog. I do think that
being
some
bullied?
backlog. What's
You're
that?
being bullied now. It's not your chance.
No, because you make a good point. Because I'm too moving forward, but I also hunger for some of those older games. Like, dude, if you put some of those older wrestling games on there, I'd be like, dude, this is awesome. This is great.
They do serve a purpose to scratch that itch.
Yeah,
You know?
they do serve a purpose, but like
Mostly
going
to be like, God, this was terrible.
Yeah.
going forward for
they're,
me.
they're the sprinkles on the sundae. They're not even the cherry on top to me. They're just like, oh yeah, that's great that's there, but I don't need it.
Sony wouldn't, and I have a very. I feel like they wouldn't put their first party titles on a service like this. They wouldn't, because they want to sell those games. They want to sell them for $70 a pop. I mean, I would be very surprised if they do that. Very surprised.
I wouldn't think that they would put God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Forspoken, right? Like those the big major titles. I don't anticipate that, and I'm okay with that. I would think that some of their, like I said earlier, some of their smaller offerings, like get people to play Kena, because that game was so damn
Right.
good that it earned itself a sequel. And I think they have a stable of really wonderful indie developers, just like Xbox, that their games don't get the play that they should because they
Agreed.
aren't AAA, right?
And they are marketed heavily.
They're those double A in-house studios, and it's like, that to me is worth. If they can
Yep.
dump that stuff day and date on, like, cool.
That
I'm
would be
in.
the draw for me.
Yeah.
And didn't
I
they?
think that that's pretty huge.
Didn't they do that too for PS5 owners, where they gave 20 greatest hits from
Yeah,
the
it was
PS4
all
era?
Well,
there.
it
Yeah.
wasn't.
PS4
It
great,
wasn't
like,
just the
yeah.
greatest hits. It was also game. I mean, they're not their games like Monster Hunter World.
Mhm.
Like that was a huge game. The
And
whole full.
Catfished. Thank you very much.
Fucking
son of
goddamn
a
it!
bitch.
We still should get together once everyone has a PS5. We should get together a hunting party.
I want to
Should
play Monster
find it,
Hunter
just
actually, like
drop it
really
on
bad.
us.
I've seen it a lot, and I've never
The
played
one-
it,
the
but I
one
want
game.
to.
Right.
The one
Yeah.
game,
It seems really interesting.
but
I'm looking forward to it. I do think that Sony, especially with that report from Bloomberg, seems credible, and I'm excited. The other thing that they said was expect spring 2022.
Okay.
So either way,
We'll have
we're just
something.
months away from hopefully at least knowing more.
yeah, for sure.
Should we wrap?
I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we should wrap. Yeah,
Mhm.
because we could
Christmas
probably
wrap?
go. It's very speculative, like what we wish and what we hope. But like Game Pass, like I said, from what I've experienced, Game Pass is awesome. And I think if they want to model it or have it be like Game Pass Ultimate, if you're gonna charge $15 a month, it should look like that.
Yeah.
That's what
Agreed.
it should look
Bravo
like.
to that.
100%.
That lovely, lovely man.
Good job,
Phil.
Phil.
Phil Spencer. Good job.
I simp for him.
Yeah.
All right.
Every day. Well, hey, thanks everyone for joining us for episode 5.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah,
I wanna hear
comments
that.
below. You can watch it, get a hold of us on Facebook, our Rad Gamer Dads page. We've got this guy streaming over on YouTube now.
Yeah, the only Ryu, all lowercase letters, underscores in between it. THE_ONI_RYU. I have a picture of a black and white ring on it as the profile picture currently. So yeah, come watch, please.
We are gonna get a name card for you
I
now
say, I think
because
we
like
need
they
that.
even write that like halfway through. I'm like, I'm not remembering. that.
Yeah.
But that's just me and my old brain. So I mean,
I'll put it in the. I'll edit you in,
good,
bro.
good. But yeah. I mean, we gotta get like a little stand-up card though.
I need to get
so-
like one of like the boss, like the metal plaques. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. We'd allow you to do that.
You should give me
fine.
that. You should
Yeah.
give me that for like Christmas. Somebody should give me that as a Christmas present. Get like a laser carved like little boss plaque.
A
thing.
laser card. Well, it's a little close for anything laser
Oh,
carved.
no.
All right.
This
Well, I
drops
don't know.
in 2022, so you got plenty
Yeah,
of
you
time.
got
Exactly.
Yeah, a whole nother year.
Exactly.
Oh,
40 days-ish.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not recording
Yeah.
this before Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. We're not at all.
This has all been ruined.
Fourth wall.
Until
Thanks.
next time.
Thanks.
Bye.